Do you ever have these feelings like you're not good enough or that no matter what you do, you just are not able to make it happen and just go from where you are to where you want to be? And it's kind of frustrating, right? Well, today I'm going to share with you three things how you can boost that self confidence and just take your life to the next level. Now, I know it's sometimes hard to grasp and understand what is going on and why we feel this way. But let me guarantee you one thing, just one thing, if I can guarantee you, you're not alone in this. And that's one of the most important things that you should understand. And the reason for this is because once you start to get this understanding of these things and who you are as a person and where you're going and what you want, then things are just going to change massively for you. And your life is going to start to take off right away. This is something that you're going to notice like, boom, just like that. So let's get going with this. And this is the first thing that you have to do. And that's know thyself. And this is something the old school philosophers used to say and think. And this only means know yourself, get to know who you are, what are your passions, what's meaningful to you, what's important, what's not important as well. And this is huge. And you might be thinking, well, that's so simple. I know who I am. But do you? Have you ever asked you the questions, what is it that you really want to achieve in life? What is the life that you would like to be living? Like, honestly, have you ever asked what makes you happy? What are the things that you just can't tolerate and why you can't tolerate those things? And at the same time, why are those things that make you happy, why do they make you happy as well? Have you ever tried to understand the whys behind all these things? Because that's important too, understanding. So know thyself, know who you are, ask those deep questions, maybe through some meditation. I'm going to be sharing a workbook with questions to get to help you understand yourself a little bit better. Because once you understand yourself and who you are, then by default, you'll become more confident because you're going to stop trying to imitate here and there or try like different things because you don't know who you are. Now, I'm not saying it's not a good thing to try and experiment with different things because that's how we learn as well, right? But you have to be careful on why you do it and the purpose for experimenting those things or situations or the people you surround yourself with, which that's another really important thing. I'm going to add it as a bonus to the end, and that's the people you surround yourself with, because that's going to play a massive, massive role. Now, the second tip I have for you, or the second step, is it's called the good enough principle. And I'm going to share with you a little story about this. And the story goes like this, right? There was a little kid, let's name him Little Johnny, right? And Little Johnny had great parents and everything. But here's the thing. Every time or anytime he would do something good, for example, at school, get good grades or accomplish something that to him it was important, like, oh, I won this thing, or I got good grades, or, like my teachers congratulated me today for like this exercise or something like that. His parents would be like, well, I wouldn't expect less from you because you have everything. We give you everything. You have education, clothes, a roof, food, and school is your only obligation, da 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 da. And so every time he was proud of himself, he would run into this wall kind of thing, being like, boom, well, that's what we expect of you. Like we wouldn't expect less because you have everything and all the possibilities and options and everything available to you to make this happen. So why wouldn't you do it, right? It's not like a great achievement because that's kind of like your responsibility in life right now. And this doesn't mean that his parents didn't love him or didn't care about him, but it was just the way they were raised at the same point, and also how they lived their lives, like all the experiences they had growing up and challenges and how they dealt with these situations. And that's how they were formed as a person with their core beliefs and values as well. So that's how they were behaving regarding this situation, right? So for little Johnny, every time he achieved something, he would go and be like so proud and, hey, mom, dad, look what I did and accomplished. And he was like so pumped and really happy. And their parents would be like, well, what do you want? Like a medal, a prize? Like, just we wouldn't expect less from you, right? So he just started having these problems as he grew up. He started having these problems with confidence and kind of like self-doubt. And that's what I call the good enough principle, because in his mind, he was never good enough for what he was doing, right? So he started developing these problems with self-confidence, being like, well, whatever I do, it's not going to be good enough. So he got into like this downward spiral of trying to find approval and please everyone to get that, like finally like, hey, I'm proud of you. You did like a great job, or this was fantastic, or you should be proud of this or that, of whatever you've accomplished, right? But because of that, everything was going to a different direction, and he stopped going after the things he wanted to pursue in life and that made him happy just to get approval, right? So he started having this kind of, let's call it like alter ego, right? Kind of thing where he was not being himself anymore, but he turned into someone who he thought would get approval from other people, even he wasn't doing or living the life he wanted to, because if he did that, he was just not going to be good enough, right? So he didn't want to feel that way anymore. So he created these other, like this other personality kind of thing, or this other being inside his head, like a multiple personality disorder, you can call it, like an alter Johnny boy, until, he reached out for someone and he was like, no, wait, this is not right, because I'm doing all these things and people tell me that I'm doing a great job or whatever, but I don't feel like I'm doing it, right? Like I'm not happy, I'm not satisfied. This is not what I should be doing, right? So after that, he started doing something like introspection, reflection, and he found out that he wasn't being authentic to himself and real to himself. His core values, his core beliefs were all just messed up because he thought he wasn't good enough. So, and here's the punchline of this story. Once you realize that you are good enough, and granted, you're going to make mistakes, and there's going to be people who might not be impressed with what you do or whatever, still knowing who you are and what you want and being authentic, which is going to be our next tip or our next step. And that's when everything's going to change, because you're not going to be perfect and sometimes you're going to fail. But by knowing that, you know that you're an imperfect being who can improve and be better, and that you're good enough. And sometimes your achievements might be just for yourself, right? And you have to be proud of that, because if it's aligned with who you are and again your values and beliefs, then you have to be happy and kind of congratulate yourself instead of trying to find approval from someone else. Even if it's someone you love, your family, your significant other, it doesn't matter, as long as you know that it resonates and it's aligned with who you are and that makes you happy. And that's the right thing to do. So even though there might be some times when other people won't celebrate your achievements, you have to celebrate your own achievements and own those little wins, even if for someone it might be so little that doesn't matter. Trust me, every win, no matter how small, is going to help you work in that confidence, and it's just going to give you that fulfillment and be like, think about that. Every time that you accomplish something, doesn't matter how big or small, you just feel good with yourself, right? So don't put those things to the side and actually value them for what they are. Those are little wins that get you closer to your goal and to the life that you want to live and where you want to be in life at the same time. So remember, you're good enough, but there's always room for improvement. So if you fail at something doesn't go the way you want it to, start thinking why that happened, analyze the situation, and then think of what you can do to improve yourself, get that self-growth, self-improvement, so you can make it happen next time. It's no big deal. As long as you keep trying, keep getting better, that's what matters. Then you'll be on the other side on confidence. Now, number 3, be authentic. And this is going to be like, pretty much I said it before, but we're going to go more specific right now with this. And that's because a lot of people fail to realize and start chasing other things, especially nowadays with social media. They think that what they see is the reality, but most of the times it is not. And we fail to see that, and then we want, in order to get that approval, or because we think becoming this person or like his or her, whatever, we're gonna start to live the life we want to and go from where we are to where we want to be. But most of the times that's not true, because you're just imitating someone else who's got different core values, different core beliefs. They believe something else. And then what's going to happen? That's not going to work with who you are. And that might be one of the reasons why it doesn't matter what you do. When you try to do something like by imitating someone else and you think you're going to get the exact same results, you fail. And that's just because you're not being true with yourself. So you have to find that resonates with you and you're just passionate about it to make it happen and just make it work. That's the best way, right? You have to be authentic. And the way you do this is you just have to keep improving so in order to become the best version of yourself. So that's the punchline, right? The first step is you know who you are, know thyself, right? Get to know what are your core values, what are your core beliefs, what is important to you, what is not important to you, what do you want to achieve, and why. Know the why of those things. And then know that you're good enough to accomplish those things, but you might need some improvement. You might have to work on those things, little details here and there that right now you might not be as good as you need to get there, right? But you can if you put in the work, the effort, the comprehension, the self-awareness. So you're good enough to get there if you put in the work on self-improving and just growing and becoming better. So you can become the best version of yourself and finally close the gap and go from where you are right now to where you want to be. Now let's go with that bonus that I promised you earlier, and that's the importance of the people you surround yourself with. Why? Well, it's really simple, right? You are like a sponge, right? Remember when you were a kid, the way you learned was through imitating what was around you. And this is going to define you mostly for the first stage of your life when you're like a kid. It goes like the teenage years, a little bit earlier in your life, even in college. And from there, you get like this sort of already molded and fixed idea of who you are. But that doesn't mean you can't be influenced by someone else and the people surrounding you. And this goes for everything, even with your confidence, because I've seen this all the time, especially with someone I was talking last week. And she was like, yeah, I'm trying to get into like everything with my real estate business. And I would do this, I would do that in order to make it happen. But I can't because of my husband. He's always thinking about the risks, about what might go wrong, stuff like this. So, that kind of doesn't motivate me or push me forward to make things happen, take risks, stuff like that. And the truth is, right here, it is important, right? You want to surround with positive people who's going to encourage you and support you and try to understand you. And even if they don't understand you, they are still going to support you because you're being authentic to yourself. Now, you have to be careful with this and don't take everything just literal, because these, of course, you have to think about this. You can just go and be like, oh, I want to be the next best football player, but you don't have the genetics, you don't have the ability. There's a lot of things to take in consideration. Of course, granted, you can get, like I said, you can always get better, but there are specific things that might limit you physically to what you can accomplish, right? It's like what happened to me with bodybuilding. I put in the work, I put in the time, the effort, the knowledge, everything, but because of my genetics, I am limited to a certain point, and what I can accomplish with that thing, is that a bad thing? Like, well, I had to accept I'm not gonna be the next Mr. Olympia, but I can have like a really good physique, right? And I'm happy with that. And from that, I can help other people. And you have to change your focus in order to be aligned with who you are and be authentic, but just being aware at the same time. And that's part of knowing yourself, right? Because these are not limitations in your mind, but what you can physically do. I wish I was like 4 or 5 inches taller. I'm not, but there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. So that's another thing. Focus on the things you can control, you can change, you can improve, and stop wasting your time with the things you have absolutely no control of. That's a big one. That's another bonus. You got 5 tips right here. I mean, what else can I say? Remember, it doesn't matter how many books you read, how many motivational videos you watch, anything of that. If you don't take action, if you don't start doing something, right, nothing's going to change, ever. So that's really important. Put the action right there. Do what you have to do. Small progress is always better than no progress. Remember, those little wins are so important. So make sure you take action. You do something about it. And granted, I know it's easier said than done, and that's why I'm offering a free breakthrough session so we can go through some of the things that are stopping you in here and how you can get from where you are to where you want to be and overcome these kind of things like self-doubt, problems with confidence, how to pursue your goals appropriately and effectively, because that's really important. And that's what makes the difference between having goals and just like dreams, right? Having a plan and actually taking action towards that. So if I can help you with that, my information is going to be down below, and you can reach out to me, schedule this free session, and hopefully 2020 will be the year that's going to be your year. Cheers.